Good evening, everybody. Um, Welcome to another promising edition of mEtv Capacity Building Program. Today, we have a very special guest with us, and a very special guest in the sense that he is our brother from Nigeria, though based in England, and he's also a citizen of that's United Kingdom. Is a British citizen, so dual citizenship, Nigerian and British. So now home we day, we have the privilege of playing host to our brother. So he's a very experienced person with a wide range of experiential knowledge that he's going to share with us today. He has worked with prominent organizations, I mean global organizations such as Ernst and Young and other global corporate, establishments. So we have Henry Kuti in our midst tonight. So he's going to be our lead, our lecturer to deliver today's, training to us. So I want you all to grab your pen, grab your jotters as usual, and let's try as much as we can to put our questions together and make it very interesting and interactive. The resource person is very capable and, like I said, very experienced, has so much to pass on to us today. So enjoy this time out at the mEtv Rural Incubatory Community today. Once again, welcome to this, and I will now hand over the platform to our resource person, Henry. He's going to tell us about himself. I'll start by introducing himself properly, then go straight to today's business. Henry, you're welcome. It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, indeed. Full circle moment for me. Thank you for the community for having me. It's a privilege. How do I follow that introduction? I'm not one to blow my own trumpet, so not very much to add to that, Marcus. But I would say that I've spent the last 20 years of my career across a variety of sectors as a management consultant, advising companies on how they would grow, better engage their customers, how they would leverage digital technology for that. That work has taken me from companies like Accenture to Ernst and Young, as Marcus mentioned, to Capgemini. I had a brief stint with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Nigeria, and I took that opportunity to tick off my youth service a while back, and that also gave me some insights into the local working and the conditions and some of those challenges. I actually did a lot of work in MENA with did I call it the right way? I need to get my Niger accent properly going. Yeah, I'm falling behind on it. MENA in Zaria. I did a lot of work with the central bank there during my time, as well as Abuja. So I have a bit of maybe dated context. And then what I would say is that my link into, because myself, I caught the entrepreneurship bug about 7 years ago. So started up a partnership with a group of friends. So I've kind of kept my interest in entrepreneurship since then. In 2020, I actively started to do angel investment in African startups as my specific way to give back. So actually, I do that through a VC called the Boabab Network. You can look that up. That's obviously there's an opportunity there as businesses scale for to position your business there. So that's just something else that I just wanted to highlight for people to be aware of. So all of this is with both the kind of global big firm perspective to the startup mindset, the agility that's needed, and what Marcus nicely described as the entrepreneurial spirit that comes in building an organization from ground up. That grit that needs to that needs to really power the growing an organization. So that's me in a nutshell. And so personally, I'm a father to three young kids. And as I was mentioning earlier, they're my pride and joy. They keep me quite busy. So there's so that's family life is something very important to me as well. So without much ado, because I'm conscious that we've already had a bit of time spent. Let me kick off with the session. But before I do that, just a bit on but this is not moving. Don't know why. Hold on. Just a bit on ground rules. Can everyone see my screen? Is it moving? No, it's not. Okay, yes, we are moving. We're on.
Yes,
So
sure.
yeah. So a bit of ground rules before I cover on learning objectives. This is I hope the session can be as interactive as possible. So what you'll pick up is that some of the slides might look, maybe perhaps busy. And if you're what's going on here? Step back, sorry. My computer is somehow speaking its own language. So let me just try and close off this so that folks can see clearly. Because I would assume that the Zoom, just trying to get rid of the Zoom stuff so that you can see the full screen whilst I'm sharing. It seems to be blocking. But yeah, so a bit of overview in terms of how the session will run. We want to be as interactive as possible. So if people have any questions, I will be prompting. If you do have any questions, Marcus, I'd appreciate if you because the fact that I've taken off the Zoom thing and I'm trying to get a full screen for people might mean that I can't see people put their hands up. But do let me know if people are putting their hands up. What's going on here?
It's okay. It's usually towards the end of the lecture that
Towards
we
the
are
end,
taking
okay.
questions. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, that's fine then. We'll run through it then. All right, okay, so I think we're good. So, in terms of our learning objectives today, I've structured this as a bit of as much as there's a practical side. I've also put some proven tools that help to think through because one thing is to be able to reflect and think and plan and structure growth so that the actions that follow are from a place of good challenge, right? So I've put a bunch of tools in here that are effectively the typical kind of MBA tools that help. So you're getting a mini MBA module as part of this. But we will then talk about kind of practical ways to grow your business, um, how to add new products and services, how to reduce costs, and then we'll look at the people side because a big part of growth is in hiring and managing people and having the right mindset around that. One of the biggest challenges that any entrepreneur faces is you've got your baby, you are running with it, you understand everything about it, and it's always a challenge to let that go and let other people manage your customers. And obviously, in the in that context as well, in Nigerian context, there's always that risk as well, right? That when you let go, if you let go too early and bring people in, one they could, there could be challenges that they bring to your brand. The other is the concern about them taking your customers with them. So these are all things that we want to talk about a little bit in terms of being able to scale letting go because without that it's always going to be very difficult to to grow what is already a good platform or business that you've built. And then at the as a last action we look at assessing where you are, but try and step through that process as we go along. I think Marcus already mentioned that I have a pen and a notepad, so that will help to capture notes. So let's start with the basic question of why growth matters. And I think it's a pretty obvious one in terms of, growth brings increased financial benefit, more money in the pocket, right? Which, as a result of that, you naturally are able to offer a better life for our loved ones and our wider community. Growth creates jobs, and the creation of jobs is the impact on community as a whole. There's that broader stability and resilience that the growth of your business, a business that is only generating enough for for you to live hand to mouth and to survive, um, will never give that confidence, right? God forbid, you face an illness or anything like that. If the business is not at a certain scale, if there are no other people working and everything is down to you as an entrepreneur, then there is always that long-term risk of, if anything happens to that individual, then that business goes down. So these are all reasons for growth to be an important consideration. I've also got kind of the business life cycle here, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But it's really important to understand that the business grows in phases, and if you don't go through each of those stages, if you don't sort of evolve over time, the risk is that even as an entrepreneur, you will tire out, right? If you're stuck in the survival mode for too long, there's only a certain amount of energy that you can sort of channel into being in that phase for so long. So those are things to consider. Sorry, this thing is really 1 second. Right. So I mean I just put a bit of a story here, and this is really for those who can't, who are not physically in the session. Um, I put a brief story of someone who sells more, and by selling more, brings in her niece. Fatima brings in her niece to help her care for her goats, and by doing that, her niece is able to pay her own school fees, right? And what that highlights is that obviously, if the business didn't grow, Fatima would be looking to still help her niece in any case, but she wouldn't be in a position uh, to leverage increased growth from her business to help pay her niece's school fees. But by her niece bringing her niece into a business, working for her, it helps for her to also create opportunities for helping the family. So I think that just highlights the fact that when a business grows and you can bring people in your wider community in to support, it enables and empowers them as well, which reduces dependency on you and ultimately lets you focus your efforts on continuing to invest in your business. Key action here is just write one reason why you want your business to grow. And I think I just ask people at this point that who here is keen to double their business by the end of the year. Who is up for that challenge? Let me see if I can. People just do it by a show of hands. Might not be able to see that here on the top screen.
Yeah, everybody, absolutely everybody, everyone.
even I'm going for that as well.
Oh yeah.
But we are. No, we are. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I just thought, because I showed the graph earlier, I just wanted to highlight the life cycle, right? So it's important to kind of understand where your business is. And I know that, mostly from what Marcus has said, mostly where, most people here are in either startup or, survival, right? You're either in that place where you just kicked off, just about, testing the market, understanding it, or you're in survival where your business is just making enough, but it doesn't have, you don't have savings that if something happened, the business could carry on for a period of time. And then there's the growth phase, right, where you start to really really make moves, and that's what we're trying to use this session to push to, right, where we everyone is in that place where Jacob is, where he's taking actions to add value to his product. He's selling honey, raw honey, but he's packaging it. He's looking for customers. He's trying to drive up the price. He's looking at all those opportunities. So that's where we really want to get to. And then ultimately, the phase of maturity then kicks in, where you're in a place where you actually have a business where you can step away and you know that it's running in an ongoing basis. So action there for this one is note down. I'm assuming we're all in stage 1 or 2, but it helps to know where you are, because it helps to also think about what the next phase is and what it should look like and what sort of activities you should be doing. So this is more about trying to kind of inspire on next steps. Right. So I'll then shift away, right? So from we were so if you looked at the stage where your business is, um, everything about a business, fundamentally, everything we do starts with the customer, right? If I'm an electrician and I went to, and I did, and I did an apprenticeship as an electrician, and I came on the market and I wanted to start to serve people, um, and just said, "Oh, I'm an electrician, so I'm just going to go to the market." Well, the important, very important thing is to start with the customer. Who is my ideal customer? Who do I want to work with? Because by understanding that, you can think about, well, where are my customers? Where do I go get to them? And by understanding where you get to them, then everything flows from there, right? But if you don't understand that, and if I don't understand that, and I just said, "Hey, I'm an electrician, I should have work." If I'm in a village or town that has low power supply, that people don't generally have electrical problems, then I'm in a difficult position, right? Because yes, I have my trade, but I actually can't grow because the infrastructure that supports it isn't there. So just something to really think about of who is your ideal customer. Not everyone is your customer, but every company, the global, the small, we know companies like Apple. We know they target a specific base. We know in terms of automotive brands. We know the high end brands. We know the low end brands. We know they all have who they're targeting. So it's important at whatever stage a business is to understand who your ideal customer is. And I would just tune that to say you want to focus on those who buy often from you. Of course, if you're already running, then you want to spend a bit of time thinking, who are the people that actually buy from me? Who are those people that pay me fairly? Who are those people that maybe offer a tip? As I said, if I was that electrician and I was, there are the customers I work with that offer me tips. They're the ones who pay me fairly. And then thinking, okay, who are those that like my work so much and recommend me to others? Those are my ideal customers. I really want to spend time thinking about what those people need, what products what extra services they might need, what their pain points are, what are things are that they worry about, what are the things that they really want to, they really need out of my service. And it's really important to ruthlessly focus on serving them well because a small proportion of loyal customers who continue to do repeat business with you, they really save you a lot of headache in terms of running around trying to find business, trying to drum up business because they will refer and that will continue to grow your base. Here I've just put some strategies there that could help. I don't necessarily want to step through all of them, but I think these are things that we can discuss further offline in the WhatsApp group as well. And we can do that through the Q&A. Um, I've I've put a brief story here as well. Joyce, bread distributor, she realized that um, her best customers are local canteens, right? Not random buyers. So rather than run around try to sell bread everywhere, she targets her journey every day and goes to those local canteens and delivers for them. And that way, she's managed to triple her sales because she's not doing the journey of moving around trying to sell her bread. She focuses on the places where has the highest demand. So I would say if you can now, and I know this one is not easy because you probably have to spend a bit of time reflecting, but if you do know who your ideal customer is and why, I would say write that down. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to just do that. Right, okay, I'm moving on to the next one, which is as we move from the customer, we've talked about your ideal customer. The next thing to understand is okay, why do people really buy from me? This customer, and I covered it as the at the back end of that previous slide of why do people buy from me? What are they, what's leading them to buy from me? Why am I different? On the right hand side of the screen, we've got what is Porter's value? Sorry, guys. I've clicked this thing wrongly. 1 second. I don't know why my laptop is doing this. Can you see my screen okay, folks? Yeah, you can? Right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's very clear. We can see your screen.
Okay. All right, cool. So as I said, on the right-hand side is what is the Porter's value proposition. And this is where you're thinking, okay, I know who my ideal customer is. What what makes me different, right? How do I sell on a larger scale? You have companies like Dangote, right, who compete ruthlessly on price, right? And as a result, they shift everyone out of the market. So this is really just understanding what is your, what is your game, right? Can you, if you're selling Gary, can you get it in bulk? Can you get it in bulk and get it to yeah, a place where people can't get it in bulk and distribute there at the lowest price, right? And that will make you a cost leader, right? And then you could also look at differentiating, right? I've put the example here of Ngozi as a hairdresser offering Wi-Fi and charging points in her salon with 24-hour generator, right? So these are all things that differentiates that person. That salon becomes one that people will know that they're happy to go to because they get those other perks, right? It differentiates the service. So it's thinking about what is your own play. Is it price? Are you the lowest cost? Are you the lowest price? Are you are you the slightly differentiated, or are you looking to specifically focus on, in the example of Esther here, she's making uniforms. She's making only school uniforms, right? And she could even target that further and focus on making uniforms of specific schools, right? So there are different strategies you can look at of how do you grow. But it's got to be thought through and looking at the business that you're doing. Um, if you're in a commoditized business like Gary, right? And then often the biggest play is cost, right? To be the lowest price. But in some cases, people will take something like Gary and package it up, right? And package it up nicely so that there's more interest. The conversation I was having a few weeks ago was with a pure water manufacturer in Lagos, and they were there. Of course, they're more of a scale up, but they're basically in a highly competitive market, very difficult to uh, to stand out because they were not at the scale of the biggest players in the market, right? So for them, we needed to start to think, well, actually, maybe would you consider pivoting into, flavored water rather than pure water, right? Trying to do something different, right? Rather than play in that field that's really, really challenging. So for this, just say, yep, try and write down one reason that customers buy from you. Why is why those customers that you've said, are your ideal customers, why do they buy from you? And if you find that you don't know why, then that is homework that you need to do over the next 30 days to understand why your customers buy from you. I know the concept on the right hand side, I don't want to spend too much on it, but it's basically just highlighting how, you could always look at, uh, the a particular small part of on the scope side, you could always look at a small part of the market, or you could look at serving everyone in the whole market. This is more of, do you want to offer, if I was an electrician, would I offer my services to every single possible customer? Would I say, oh, I only want to offer my electrician services to, middle class customers because I know they will give me a tip, right? So I would make that choice on the scope. And then in terms of cost and differentiation, I might say since I'm going for middle class, families, then what I have to offer those middle class families is let's say a discount annual package or something for maintaining their electricity, an annual visit that I do for a certain price that I offer them. And I know they'll be happy because they have certainty. It's not the kind of thing where when I turn up, I create a price based on the face that I see, right? That I've already created a standard package for them. So through that, in that example, I've put myself in it's probably more of differentiation focus, right? Because I've created something different in saying I will focus on middle class. And I've also said that in that I will create a package that gives people consistency in how they're served. Hope that's clear. I will go to the next one. So the next one is kind of similar conceptually. So again, it's something to think about in terms of ways you could grow. There are a bunch of examples here. Market penetration is basically rather than distribute, look at ways to increase your level of distribution footprint, right? If you're selling, so Joyce, for example, is selling bread on her street, but she looked to how will she scale that? So she then explored, okay, can I sell to canteens who are bulk buyers? If I can sell to them, then I can sell at a higher scale. So I'm penetrating the market more. I'm thinking about, okay, where else can I go rather than just doing what is, I've proven this thing. People like my bread, but where can I go with it? Product development. I think we've talked about an example like that already. I'm sure I think we have. But it's someone who's sewing traditional wear, but deciding that, oh, actually, you know what, most of my customers are asking for casual, shirts and trousers. Let me branch into that. That's product. You've shifted from just offering one thing to another product, but it's the same set of customers. And then market development is where you identify, for example, the pure water business that I was talking about. We were also saying, well, if Lagos is highly competitive and there's a better market in Ibadan or Ogun State, then why not look at shifting distribution there? Obviously, there's the challenge of transportation, but this is what Tura is doing here as well, right? That I'm gonna go and find better customers who are willing to pay more in Abuja, and I will sell at a higher price. And then there is diversification where you look at doing something totally different, right? But leveraging on the fact that you have some existing customers. So in the case of this shopkeeper, Sunday, he puts a mobile money kiosk to make extra from his customers that are coming in anyway. They're coming in anyway to buy stuff. You might as well put something there. So these are things that if a hairdresser can start selling meat pie, right? Because the customers are there, they're spending time there anyway. If you offer them meat pie and some drinks, it will be a natural extension, and they will be happy to pay for it. So that's diversification. I think this is one to also think about. Again, what I'm trying to do is, get the heart and the head into a mindset of ideas, right? And some of these, as you think through it, you probably have to, discuss with somebody else to ideate a little bit more to get a perspective on what might work for your business, but a range of things that can be done to grow a business. I just wanted to highlight the concept of kind of blue ocean thinking, right? Because often people look at business and the pure water one was stood out for me, right? When you look at a business, because when I was talking to the business owner, he seemed to only look at his business you know, in the perspective of, that crowded market where everyone is fighting for for attention to distribute, right? And that's very hard when you're in a crowded space. When you're doing business, everyone is doing. When you're doing business that has easy access for everyone. So what you want to do in thinking about all these ideas is to really create a new market for yourself, right? Create a blue ocean, which is where we started to say, well, actually, think about flavored water, um, think about distributing into, the remote areas, for example, where it's less crowded. So those are all things that, you want to think about as you weigh that. I've put some examples here. It's just thinking about you know, how your business can stand out. You do something already, you're doing it well. How can it stand out further so that you're not in that crowded space? But I'll put some examples here for people to just, read over um, to get some idea of what's possible in terms of um, making a difference, putting yourself in that blue ocean. You don't want to be, with too many sharks, right, and get eaten up in a highly competitive market, right? So, the next point to cover here is just thinking a little bit about when do so having considered your product, your services, what you might do, customers, all of that, those factors, when do you actually make that change, right? When do you shift things? And I would say the right time is when things are stable, right? Where you have where you have some level of stability on the current business. It's also important that, as I said, when you identify that ideal customer, it's good to talk to them. It's good to go and have that conversation. Everything starts with the customer, and it's important that they're asking for a particular offering, like the example of customers that you're sewing traditional clothes for, but then they say they want some casual or some formal wear. So when customers are asking, is really you don't want to invest a lot of time expanding, taking action, having not talk to your customers. So you want to talk to them, you want to understand what they need. And then we say the wrong time to push for growth is when you have unstable profits, right? When you're struggling to deliver to the current work, right? When your current customers are complaining, right? You don't want to be trying at that point to expand, because you're putting more challenges in play for you, because the new business is potentially going to have challenges as well. So you want to get to the steady state, and that's the point where you switch it on. And then, as you know, it's just I think you see there the ice cream man trying to sell ice cream in rainy season, right? So these are things that you've got to just be mindful of, right? That things are the right season. For example, if you're sewing school uniforms, they're trying to launch that out of when it's out of school season, right? When school kids are not returning back to school is not ideal, right? So these are things that you just want to think about. And then efficiency tips. I think one of the sessions, I think it was one of the last sessions you had, there's been looking at how to track expenses better through technology. So you want to, whilst introducing new products and services, you do want to track expenses. And you want to, I mean, even broadly, don't even have to be introducing a new product. This is what makes you understand your business. Because the business will grow, you get a lot of customers, but the work that you're doing, and the very important thing for an entrepreneur is to think about your time, right? Your time investment. Because it's easy to say, oh, yeah, everyone is buying, so I'm just selling to everyone. But if you found that customer that it takes, rather than it take you 3 hours to deliver something to them, but because they're nearby, or they're happy to pick something up for you, they save you 3 hours. That 3 hours of your time, that 5 hours of your time, because of that customer, is is going to make a lot of difference. So you have to think about the effort that goes into it, not just the money you spend, but the effort of your time. You don't want to be sweating time when you can find a more efficient way. So avoid waste, consider bulk buying, maintain simple records of your activities, so you can actually say, yeah, we spend 5 hours trying to deliver goods to this customer versus half an hour to deliver to this one. Which one do you want to continue to do business with? And then we say, okay, know your strengths, right? Know the things that you're really good at, and for the things that you're not so good at, look to partner with others, so that things like distribution or delivery. If you have, like there are other businesses that will do that, but you can deliver on, you can produce, and they will handle the distribution. Sometimes that makes that creates efficiency, because they're, if they're masters of that, then it helps. So I put, the story of Julius here, who's taken the time to not add production of benches until he started to be requested from schools to him. Also, the story of Musa, the uh, tomato farmer, who um, who was losing crop um, due to spoilage, right? And he looked at then drying and packaging the tomato into paste for later sale, which actually helped him drive profit. So these are some of the things to think about. Of if you're finding certain areas of waste in your business, then you want to think about that and look at, okay, what can be done to take away that waste, because all that waste again is money that is lost, right? So action on this one for folks is to write one cost that you can cut this month, right? Look at your business, look across it, document as we said here, and write down a cost that you can cut. Right. So we move on. Sorry for the visual here. It's not ideal. It's quite small print. I hope people can see it. So we move on to talking about having taken all those actions. More likely than not, as you create your new product, you create your new service, um, you might need to take on extra help, right? And as I was describing earlier, it's sometimes a challenge for um, entrepreneurs to let go, right? Sometimes it's not it's even just a blind spot. It's not that it's a challenge. It's the fact that you've never managed anyone before. So anything you want to do, the first thing you think is, let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. But you must know that if you start finding that you're getting more demand for your service than you can fulfill, if a tailor starts to have more and more customers ask for clothes to be sewn, and they are not able to meet the deadline for what customers are asking for. And yeah, if they start losing customers, and ideally you don't want to lose customers, but you have to sense that, right? You're finding that you're not fulfilling on request, on demand, then you know that you need to hire, you need to get extra help, and you have to be willing to take the time to train. The biggest challenge that I found is that it's always the pain of, okay, if I do I the time it's going to take to train someone is always my biggest frustration, right? So the time it's going to take to recruit, to find good people, to train them, and all of that. But what I from all my experience is the fact that if you don't do it, it's going to continue to bite you, right? And it's going to continue to hold the growth of your company back. So you really want to make sure that you you take the time to find people that as your business grows, they are there to help support that. And obviously there are sometimes where you just have an area of weakness, right? Sometimes I found myself, sometimes the area where I struggle with is marketing, right? So I would always be looking for someone who's got that sort of creative marketing mindset to bring in as to complement the work that I'm doing. So, and then in terms of recruiting people, always say character. Character is far more important than skill, right? Um, Especially in in the Nigerian context, right? And knowing a few business owners, the biggest concern that people have is the fact that, well, I will get this person, I will train them. Once they know everything about my business, they will go and set up their own, right? So that's always the worry, and that's why people sometimes don't want to bring people in or give people that opportunity. But I say, if you pick people, if you and we can guide that, we can coach you on how to, the kind of questions you need to ask and how to get the right people. But if you look for people that have certain core characteristics, right? They have to have a customer focus. As I said, everything starts with the customer. They have to be adaptable because in the startup environment, things are always changing, right? And you can't say, well, because I'm an accountant, I can't do anything else, right? You have to be able to do whatever is needed. So you've got to be resilient, you've got to be resourceful, and then they have to be open to learn because things change all the time, right? And then the last one, absolutely critical, is integrity, right? You don't want to, the amount of times I've heard, someone is managing a customer and then, for whatever reason, they take a cut or something or take a shortcut and give that customer the product at a lower price, and somehow they find a way. So that part, integrity is important, but obviously you also have to put controls in the business to make sure that and that's where things like technology really helps, right? To make sure that people are that whatever is being done, as much as possible, people can't they can't move things around from you. And then it's really important to inspire people. Bring your passion and your why. Why do you do what, why are you doing that business? It's important to give people that because people are aligned to passion. They stay with people, people stay working with bosses that they are, that they feel aligned with, they feel listens to them. Give clear instructions, pay fairly, and check results, train and coach. These are all things that they're really important. If you just leave someone to do whatever they want to do, then chances are they're not going to be as engaged. Couple of examples there. I would not step through it, but I would just put that write one task that you could delegate this month, right? You might not necessarily, recruit, you might not necessarily bring someone in full time, but think about a task that you could just give someone who's an expert. It might be someone who to help you do your website, right? Something like that, right? So, I'll just quickly touch on digital growth, right? I know you've had sessions on this, so you're not going to spend a lot of time, but a big part of growth when you outline that product, those services, is pushing it through WhatsApp, pushing it through Facebook, and making sure that you are very responsive on that. And then AI really helps with, the example I gave earlier of ask someone to help you build your website. I mean, AI will do that for you in minutes. There are lots of things AI would do in speeding up your replies. If you put posts on WhatsApp, and you wanted AI that would help you, a chatbot that would help you reply to messages, all of that exists, right? So AI gives a significant opportunity beyond recruiting people to get things done. So that's the huge opportunity we have today. I've put some examples here as well. And I've just said, look, if you might want to, if not done yet, take action and post one product photo this week. That's an action to note down and just see how that goes. Test. That's the big thing that we also say about, in marketing and sales is, test and learn, try, see, you just never know. So try it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. So, by way of summary, we've we've stepped through quite a few actions through these slides, and I'll share the slides at the back end. But I think folks should consolidate your 30-day action plan, right? Think about all the aspects that I've touched on through this session. And I'm not sure because I'm looking at the time. I think we stretched into the hour already, the end of the hour. So I do want to leave some time to discuss. But I'll leave this for folks to spend time, think about your 30-day action plan. If you take this action, you will definitely be on your way to doubling your revenue by the end of this year. So worth just considering taking those actions. And then just to wrap things up, growth is possible. It's very possible. It's practical. You now know some of the strategies and world-class tools that those bigger firms use to think about it. But I've tried to bring it to the level of so to the local context. I think as if you've been going through the questions, you know your stage, you should have an idea of your ideal customer and maybe reflect on your next step on the basis of that. And at this point, I would just open it up for Q&A around big challenges that people have in growing their business. If there are any things that I haven't covered, if there are any thoughts, happy to share and discuss.
Wow, wow, thank you so much. That was a very brilliant presentation there, Henry. Thank you so much for this detailed, delivery you've just done. You must have put in so much effort and time into this. Thank you very much. So we already have one question. From one of the participants, Anthony NM.
Okay.
So he's saying that how can I scale my business as a rural entrepreneur and increase revenue by utilizing key aspects like leveraging technology? So
Okay.
does that sound clear to you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think technology, what I would always say is again, you can't technology helps, right? And I think there was a session last month on the role of technology, right? Where, depending on the product that you're selling, you would leverage, Facebook, you would leverage WhatsApp, and any of those platforms. But Facebook and WhatsApp, I would say, in terms of market access, they're the easiest, right? It's the lowest hanging fruit. Any of us can do it. Take a picture of your product and put it on your you can basically pull together a simple flyer for your product and drop it in any WhatsApp group and pass it around to your friends to drop it in any WhatsApp group. I think we are all, even I am in the WhatsApp group for people I went to primary school with, secondary school with. So if I wanted to market a product in Nigeria right now, that's where I would start, right? So that's how I see the leverage of technology, right? Because
Yeah.
if you create a flyer, if you create that, it's really in that market, right? Because once you have demand around your product and people are reaching out, I mean, the rest of the stuff we can talk about, but I don't think that's the biggest challenge that any entrepreneur has, right? You want to generate demand, you want customers knocking on your door. The easiest way to do that is to leverage, social media channels. Does that help?
Yeah, of course. And in addition to what you've just said, it's also important to highlight the this part of consistency because that has been a major challenge for so many of our rural entrepreneurs. So what makes the difference is consistency.
Mhm.
I often tell people that the number of time or the amount of time you spend on frivolities, watching Nollywood and watching content creators on daily basis, if you spend that time pushing out something, because life is all about selling, you are selling either directly or indirectly. Not to even sell, you are also selling. So it's better to sell something. So that's what makes the equation balance. So every time you go on social media, always make sure you post your products or your services. Now, when you keep posting this, it's not just to post it for 1 week. There's this devil in humans to always want to back out, or maybe go on a very slow pace when it comes to that part that brings some level of glory or something to them. They always want to downplay it. So consistency is the thing. If you are producing meat pie, every time I wake up, I want to see your picture of meat pie on your status when I look through your status.
Mhm.
If it's meat pie, either meat pie or cake and all that, don't let any product you create slide without going on social media. And don't mind whether anybody is seeing it or not. That's what a lot of people think. When you make posts at times, you post your product and it's like it's only one like, or maybe something. So some persons tend to be discouraged and say, oh, people don't even like what I'm posting. No, people are saying it. But the truth about it is that a time will come where a friend of mine will be talking about making birthday cake, and the image that will come to my mind is image of that Ejoke who always posts pastries or maybe cakes and all that on her status. So consistency is the key. I want to see, we all have a community. So many of you, you've been posting your products on the community and you've been wondering, oh, I've not even made any sale through this platform, but no, just keep on posting. You make it a lifestyle, every day, to make sure you push out your products out there. And people, when they have need to recommend, you'll be the first call. So that is just what I want to add. Do we have another question, please? There's an aspect, while we wait for more questions, there's an aspect of the presentation where you talked about leveraging and diversification. And you made mention of something very strategic there, that in trying to diversify, you must understand the principle of timing. You must understand proper timing, because one of the mistakes some of our rural entrepreneurs make is that because they see that they are told that diversification is very important, you can be doing this business and go into other type of businesses while you are doing this. Now, they tend to just fall into that, or maybe just engage in diversification without thinking properly as to whether it's right for them to do so or not. Let's take, for instance, you are producing maybe liquid soap for people to sell to your customers, and at some point you just decided, oh, I want to produce maybe detergents and add to the liquid soap I've been producing to people already. So without having to do your permutation, check your business system and status to know whether you are ripe to take to such kind of activities. Because if you don't do that critically, profile your business properly, whether you are ripe to do so or it's okay for you to do so, you might be robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's, you take all the monies from your liquid soap production, where you've already gotten a specific proportion of customers patronizing you. You take money from there to invest in a business you've not, or an aspect of business you've not gotten a sure market for at that stand. And at the end of the day, you might end up tying your money down for your Omo production or your detergent production, whereas customers are looking for liquid soap, they can't find liquid soap available. So that part is very key. You must know when to diversify. He used that word, when, knowing when to diversify. So we are going to share this video and we're going to share the slide. Go through this video critically and the slides for you to understand. Try and dot the lines and digest this presentation. It is very rich for me. He also talked about the part of character. In trying to recruit people into your business, you should know when to employ. Some people, you are just establishing a new business, you just, oh, I will need 3 people to work for me. No, it doesn't work like that. There must be need for anybody you are trying to bring into your business before you bring more people into your business. So there's what we call sweat capital. When you are starting your business at the onset, usually it's advisable for you to dedicate more of your time, your sweat capital, to the business before you start developing, a payroll for yourself that might keep your business or maybe keep you frustrated in a short while. So because your business must be pushed to that point where it breaks even and it starts making profit, adequately, before you think of, oh, I'm going to bring this and that. So what we've seen most times in rural communities or rural entrepreneurs, we see a situation where somebody is setting up a boutique. Your boutique, for the very first month you are opening that boutique, you already have 3 sales girls. When you do not even know what the future of the boutique is going to be like, you've not even established customer base and all that, you already have sales girls, and these sales girls will start stealing from you. And your problem will start from there because you've not even understood the business. You can't give what you don't have. So you must understand your business and the business system, the system of how it works. And that's why they tell us that the Igbo system of apprenticeship remains one of the best entrepreneurial model, because it enables somebody who wants to go into pharmacy, for instance, you want to go into chemist. You study somebody to understand how they make the purchase of their products, when to buy products, other new products, how to do your financial records and everything. So you understudy everything, so that when they now give you your own freedom and establish your own for you, it becomes a straightforward system for you, and you won't have any headache trying to succeed in that business. So we must understand the importance of timing. in everything in business that we do. Very important. Then that part of character I also talked about is also very key. Some persons have brought in people with very bad character into their business, and at the end of the day, they folded up just because only one person with bad character is like a virus. It will infest every other person, and the business will keep going down. So you must also put that into consideration. And the character also, it involves you, the owner of the business. You must also have a good character. Because one thing about character, it smells, it stinks. And sometimes the unfortunate thing is that those who have bad characters don't even know they have bad character sometimes. So you must understand the relevance of character. It's not just for those you are employing alone. Yourself, you must have the good character. He also talked about inspiration. You must be passionate about your business. When people see that passion and you create direction for everybody, for those working with you, they'll know this is what you stand for. This is your ideal. And your passion will infest them at the end of the day. So that is also very key, a key point that you must take home. Then he also talked about cost reduction, that's efficiency of cost. You must do your cost analysis in any investment decision you want to, or scale up decision you want to take in your business. You must analyze the cost, look at the cost implication, and make sure you go for the best cost. So I think we have another question now.
We have a few.
Okay, let's take please borrowing. Please, is borrowing compulsory or normal in diversification, or what's the connection between borrowing and leveraging? Over to you.
Yeah, my response to that, I think Marcus had said something there, sweat capital, right? Really important. So I would always err on the side of caution in terms of I would not think about borrowing as my first option. Never, right? Even if I'm diversifying. If you're diversifying and you're in a particular product service area already, that it's in a steady state, as Marcus mentioned, if you look at the cost properly, you will understand what that business is generating already. Then you can think, okay, I want to go into this other product, right? I'm currently making soap. I'm thinking about diversifying into, perfume or cream. What are we doing on soap? This is the amount we're making. Okay, based on that amount, can we can we support the growth of perfume or cream? If we can, based on the numbers of perfume and cream, then it makes sense. Borrowing, is always, it always has a lot more constraints that it brings, right? Yes, at a certain scale, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to consider, but borrowing brings a lot more. If you think about the time it takes to bring a financial institution on board with you, the effort, the chasing, and what that does to agility. So the more you can sweat yourself, the more you can get people to buy into your vision, to give you sweat capital, to do things for you for free, the more the higher the likelihood of success, right? Rather than going to a bank and trying to get that done. So that's what I would say on that one.
Yeah, and are you true, Henry?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and just in addition to that, it's always good for you to have stability before you think of borrowing, and that's why financial organizations, they are practicing currently a system that only recognizes lending to those who are already in business, not to those who are just thinking about or about going into business. So that is it. So it helps you because you can't go into, for instance, if I have money to partner with someone or to invest as an angel investor, first thing I'm going to look at for is, has this person crossed that initial hurdle, that has to do initial risk, that has to do with your business. Have you crossed that initial risk? Has this person been in this business for XYZ number of years? And what is the profits of the business like and all that? So these are things that I'm going to look into, questions I'm going to ask. So it's always safe for you to go into your business and be established to a large extent. And usually, if you want to grow, maybe you have a demand for products, increased demand beyond your capacity. That should be the best reason, for me, that should be the best reason for debt, for borrowing, for you to go into borrowing. So when you are going for this borrowing, perhaps you are selling 2 baskets of tomato at the moment, and you now have demands pushed up to about maybe 4 baskets. You don't have the money to get the additional 2 baskets. You can easily borrow to get that basket because you know that you are taking this with the assurance that you're going to sell and you have the money to pay back. So it makes it easy for and saves you headache, like Henry has just said, explained. Now we have another person who is asking, he said, how do you cope with people who like buying on credit? Henry, this is very critical. I'd like you to respond to this question.
Whoa, okay. So I would always say that, like, again, it goes back to that first question of who is your ideal customer, right? So, you have to find a way to look at your customer base and understand the people you don't really want to do business with, right? You have to understand that, because I know it's not easy, because sometimes you feel like, well, if the customer, they want to buy, but selling on credit, yes, there are people that are loyal customers that they've proved themselves over time to you. And for those loyal customers, of course, you can consider what you do in terms of credit. But people that are perpetually credit customers, they're not your target customers, because if you think about it, you've spent your money to do that business, to trade, to bring that basket of tomatoes. Then someone wants to take it off you without paying you. Well, that holds you up from replacing, right? It holds you up from replenishing your stock and holds your business up. So you always have to, I mean, that's my own position on it, that credit customers are not, they typically are not your ideal customers unless they have proved their loyalty over time, that you can look at that relationship and say, okay, this person has always done justice, and therefore it's a one-off. The credit consideration is a one-off, but it's not something that you want your business to be known for providing, because it kind of renders you, it puts you in a very difficult position, and people will come to you because that becomes your differentiator, and it's not business then, it's a charity.
Henry, that's a very good one. But I think in answering this kind of question, we should also look at context because, I could recall back then when I was into suit business, I sell to bankers, only to bankers, mainly to bankers. And bankers have this tradition of always paying you at the end of the month. So I would sell my suit, almost all my suits on credit to bankers. Some will give me post-dated check, why some don't. But I have that assurance that by the end of the month, I'm going to get my money. So, and you could also be a tailor. A tailor. You have customers who come to patronize you. Some of them may pay maybe part payment and say, okay, at the end of the product, I'm going to pay the balance of that of the money. Why some might maybe out of 5,000, they will pay you 4,000 and say, I'm going to pay 1,000. But the long and short of it is that credit sales is a very important part of business, but you have to be very careful because it can, render your business, as it can force you to go into liquidation. So that's why you have to be very careful. But there are a few customers that you would have tried, like Henry said, if customer A buys from you maybe for the first month on credit and tells you I'm going to pay you by next week, and he pays by next, maybe he's a salary earner, pays you at the end of the month and you're comfortable with that. If he has that history of consistency in paying you, I don't think you should have problem with such kind of customer. But if the customer defaults, maybe somebody says, oh, I'll pay you by end of the month, and by end of the month you start fighting to get the money. I think the moment you get that money back, you don't have to try that. But you should try as much as possible not to bring credit sales into your business, especially as a beginner, as an entrepreneur, a real entrepreneur who is just scaling up. That's very risky, it's very dangerous. So you try as much as possible. And in one of my lectures to you guys, I taught you about how you can hide under policy framework of your company or your business, in order not to create offensive to customers. Now, what do I mean? You go to some local kiosk today, back in Nigeria, you see something like there's no credit today, try tomorrow. I believe some of you have seen that. No credit. You see it's boldly written, no credit today, try tomorrow. You will see under management by management. So by so doing, somebody comes, seeing that bold statement there, the person will know, oh, there's no credit. And if they say, oh, can you sell this Gary, 2 baskets of Gary for me on credit? You say, bros, look up. Look up, that's a policy issue. So you've hidden yourself under policy. So the person will have no problem. It's a management policy. And management is nobody's name. So it's organizational policy. So I think that is the best thing to do. So try as much as you can to minimize the possibility of selling your products on credit. Because a lot of businesses you see that have died today or that have folded up, the folding up was mainly caused by credit due to credit sales. So we must be guided. I believe that answers your question. Is there any other question, please? Now you are very free to speak. If you want to ask a question and you need to speak, you are very free to, speak at this point. While we wait for more questions, Henry, I'm going to ask this question. There's this problem, this challenge of high turnover of labor turnover in Nigeria right now, so much. And this is coming at the heels of this quick, that's quick money syndrome. Everybody wants to hammer, because of that, we now have Yahoo boys on one side, a syndrome that has been for a very long time. Then with the advent of social media monetization, it has even made things worse. So nobody wants to work now. And you talk of prostitution, a lot of young girls who go into hookup, as a way of raising money, just one night stand with some guys out there, they get 100K. So once you are beautiful, you've got bomb, you've got breast, so you are a sellable material, and you can always get huge amount of money when you hang out with men. So that is affecting business seriously. And a whole lot of people are having a fair share of this issue I'm talking about now, that they employ a girl to work maybe as a receptionist or as maybe to work with them generally. The girl works for just like 2 weeks. She doesn't want to come to work again because she's looking at it. Oh, how can this person be paying me 50,000 a month when I can easily go with a guy and at the end of the month I already have 500,000? So it's a serious challenge. So what do you think? A rural entrepreneur who is having this challenge can do, because we have a couple of them facing this kind of challenge. So what would be your advice for them?
So I think for me, I think it's coming because I know another business in not another business in Lagos facing this exact challenge, and it's about trying to bring people that are sold to the vision, right? The vision of what you're trying to build, right? The business, which comes down to passion, right? So I think your own passion for your business, what you're trying to build, and because I think if people don't see a dream that is bigger than what is on ground, right? If they don't see it beyond if you're still a 3, 4, 5 person company, if you're still serving, whilst you're on that in that scale of the aspect of your, the big vision of what you're trying to get to, how you see it, the role that people may play in that vision, and continuing to share that, I think is really important, right? It wouldn't address all of this, the challenge you've highlighted, but for some individuals, that in itself will motivate them. I think incentive plans are also a way, right? I think looking beyond, salary and having performance-based pay. If you support and we sell at this level and we meet certain targets, when you share the organizational targets, and you say, okay, this is what we're going for this month, I think giving people something to run after and chase down also is a way of getting them engaged. But I know it's not this is one of those, there's no silver bullet for the challenge, right? Because you can't, what if what someone is being offered is, Yahoo, how do you can't ever You can't ever beat that, right? But fundamentally, it also then goes down to character, right? Those character traits that I highlighted, right? Because somebody who you've already picked up their values, that they're driven by integrity, they're driven by purpose, they want to make a difference. They have an ideal view of the world. They want to serve customers. They want to all those core values. They want to work hard. They have that work ethic. If those things stand, and they are in an environment that motivates them with the right purpose, then I think it's going to be harder for all these other distractions to come in.
Yeah, that's fine, Henry. Of late, I was beginning to look at a possibility too.
Mm,
Yeah, stemming from a particular experience I had with an organization here in the UK. I noticed they were selling their shares and they gave discounts to junior staff, to staff of the organization first, to give them this sense of ownership. When I say staff of the organization, as far to even the cleaners in the organization, they gave them opportunity to buy shares and they reduced the money per unit of shares to them, in order for them to be part of. So when I spoke to one of the managers, he told me that they feel that people tend to give their best to business or to organization when they have a sense of ownership, to such organizations. So when you allow junior staff to buy shares, to own shares in the company,